He lived across the street from Linwood High School.
He really wasn't allowed to do a whole lot, as far as extracurriculars or, go hang out with the guys.
He was kept out of sports because there was a fear of getting injured.
His parents would watch him from across the street.
His mom would be out there with the binoculars when they were doing PE.
Our family is very weird.
It would embarrass him.
We just watch him when they'd come out at recess time in their gym classes.
We kept an eye on him, see that no harm came to him till he was big enough to take care of himself.
It's a little hard to find yourself when, you've got Mom looking through the binoculars at you.
I would say I was probably a nerd in high school.
He was smarter than everybody.
A little bit of a nerd.
Trying to avoid that word.
A nerd.
He was a nerd. He actually had that mad scientist look.
He had really curly hair, and since it was the year of the afro, he had let it grow into this giant, huge head of fur. And his head looked like a clown's head.
Kind of like chia pet hair.
He was just odd.
He thought he was funny, sometimes at the wrong times. One particular incident, here's somebody, I think they're going to throw up, they're sick. So I turn around and I see this child just laying out there against the chair and all this plastic vomit on his shirt.
That's one good thing about the Yankovics. They were all comedians in one way. Yes.
Humor was one of the things that he found worked for him, and he enjoyed it.
We were in the speech team together. It was a fun group made up of other misfits.
He used all of that humor to create these incredible stories.
Al would usually use things out of the Mad magazines and interpret them in his own way.
He won every event because he really let himself go completely. We were at one competition, and on the way back, we had a 6-seat car and 7 bodies, so someone had to sit on someone's lap. And this girl was the smallest, and I said, why don't you sit on Al's lap? And she turned around, she said, I don't like him and I don't want to have to sit on his lap. She was totally freaked out, and she looked like she was going to cry. I felt bad for him.
You could tell that it did embarrass him.
Back in the 1970s, there was a radio program called the Dr. Demento Show. Well, that particular program kind of showcased an eclectic selection of songs.
Risque songs have always been part of my show.
We weren't allowed to listen to Dr. Demento.
Davy's got the cutest little dinghy in the Navy, things like that.
Some of the songs had bad words.
Al's mother happened to hear Al listening to my show and said, turn that off. It's filthy. So Al had to listen to it in secret for a while.
He spent a lot of time in his room. I don't know what he did.
Let me tell you about the school cafeteria.
We used to write songs together.
He would record songs for Dr. Demento using an 8-track.
Not every one of those songs was worth its weight in gold. But he sent me Belvedere Cruising.
He used to drive a Plymouth Belvedere.
Going Belvedere cruising tonight, etc.
Just watch me pass that Porsche on the right.
I put that on the air right away, and sure enough, it started getting reaction not just from Linwood, but from all over Southern California.
He started getting a lot of airplay and a lot of recognition.
We heard over a dozen songs on Sunday evenings that he had on the Dr. Demento Show.
Everybody used to talk about Al on Monday. Well, look, there's Al. He has a song on the radio.
That did make him kind of a minor celebrity there at Linwood High School.
That's where Al Yankovic kind of came out of his shell and did his thing.
He was certainly the best-known student by the time he graduated.
Alfred was our school valedictorian.
I was so proud of that deal, far better than I ever done, I'll tell you.
If we want a better future, changes are imperative, and it is up to every one of us to assume the responsibility of change.
Al graduated early at 16 and a half.
Yeah!
I don't think that high school was a real wonderful time in his life. I think it was a means to an end to get to college or to get to be an adult, to get away from his parents and to find himself.
Al wanted to be a performer.
Music probably gave him a little hope that, hey, maybe there's something out there that could really work for me.
Next, Weird Al fights to fit in.
The first time that I saw Al, I didn't know whether or not he was this little wonderful genius or he was this serial killer.
But soon builds a cult following on the airwaves.
It's time for the Weird Al Show.
He kind of came in with this format we didn't have a clue as to what to do with.
It was 3 hours of the best radio in California.
And later, Al lands his first big break.
It was really a bargain basement kind of a situation. It's not like there was a bidding war for the guy.